Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Valagar Aloevain back for some more Dungeons and Dragons Online. So here we are back in Von Richten's Tower, and in order to get here, just head to any of the taverns and just talk to a guide and select the Van Richten's Tower. He'll port you right here. Alright, so we had completed our last quest, and now they're asking us to head to the village of Brez. So we're going to want to head to the ruins of Berez and start this one here. Now, I had attempted to record this one a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, we ran into an issue with lag, and rather than have you guys stand there and wait for the lag to disappear, I just chose to restart the quest. So hopefully we can get through it this time without that lag issue. Alright, so with this one, I kind of have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. It's kind of a little bit of an annoying quest to do. Mostly it's just drawn out. However, there's a whole lot of reasons why it makes it real easy to go run through this quest. And those reasons are scarecrows. So the first thing we need to do when we enter in is
you are now able to enter the ruined village of Berez.
So the main thing you got to do is once you get in, you got to talk to this person. They'll drop down the first barrier. The second barrier drops once we kill these scarecrows. Now, scarecrows take additional fire damage. So if your character has any amounts of fire damage, these guys drop relatively quickly. Just with the turret alone, they were mostly taken out. There we go. And then again, it's the same thing. Bunch more scarecrows at the next little barrier. Alright, at this point we do come across howlers, which are very resistant to the fire, so we won't be able to, use that. However, as you'll notice, we've only got 4 of them. There are a whole lot of other ones in this area, such as even over here, and then down around the corner as well. If you kind of ease your way into the fights, rather than just rushing right in, you end up taking on a lot smaller groups of enemies, ultimately making it easier in the long run for yourself than having to deal with all of them at once. So here we got another group of scarecrows. Alright. After that, right around our corner, just to our right, there is going to be another group. So, just wanted to point that out, that way we don't get caught off guard there. So as you can see, there are 4 main groups to deal with. There was the one right here, the one just back here, the scorpions, I keep wanting to call them scorpions, the scarecrows over there, and then finally another group of howlers right around the gate. So if you end up rushing in, you'll actually have to fight them all. And, you know, obviously that makes it quite a bit more difficult than it needs to be. So if you just go a little slow, you'll be able to take them on group by group. So the next thing to note is, right here in this broken down house, there is a journal piece. So there is one of the 5, and they're easy enough to get as long as you just, you know, head down the path. You'll end up with most of them there. At this point, we need to talk to the raven in the cage
The freed raven
and
flies
free them.
off. The ward's magic fades, allowing you to explore further into the village.
Alright, so now we're gonna head down this road. And again, I like with the scarecrows pulling larger groups than I normally would, simply due to the fact that they take so much additional fire damage that even though the turret is very under-leveled in here, like, it is doing some fairly decent numbers, and damage-wise can usually kill them a fair amount of them.
Winds and frantic caws can be heard from the ruined building to the northwest.
Yeah, it can usually kill a fair amount of them before it itself dies. Like, as you see, it is almost dead there. Alright, so our next journal piece here is actually just in the destroyed buildings to our right, if we're heading down the road. Right across from where our raven is. So here's our raven right here.
The raven caws and thanks as it flies away. With the ward disabled, the mists part, revealing the ruins of a mansion.
And as you see, as it drops, we also have a fairly large group of howlers. Alright. Now heading in, there is the destroyed mansion that they were talking about. Alright, so we got another Fear Reaper and a whole bunch more scarecrows. The scarecrows, they kind of come in large groups, but ultimately don't have a lot of hit points themselves.
Sounds of weeping can be heard further into the ruins.
Alright. So the other bit is to our right, we have a building which does have a ghost inside, Laszlo. If you talk to him, it does give you
The ghost calls
a
out,
tiny bit of experience, and then it mentions to find Marina's monument, which will be another optional later on. Alright, and just down here this section, we will have another one of our journal pieces.
Can be heard from a large
So here it is.
past the ruins of the mansion.
So at this point, you want to make sure that you only have 2 left. Simply because, well, that means you've gotten them all. And you won't have to head back. Now, I don't recommend heading back. It's not worth a super large amount of experience. But due to the fact that you got to run past them, it's definitely worth picking up if you can.
The ward is dispelled and the nearby mists subside. You can now make out a large area of open swampland to the southwest. Perhaps Baba Lasaga's hut can be found there. Loud calls can be heard from both the southwest and the south.
So what they're mentioning is down this way here. And again, this section here has a whole lot of scarecrows. So again, what I tend to do is grab a whole bunch, drag them. Main reason I do this is I do have AoE fire damage, as you see all the purple numbers here. If not for that fact, and if not for the fact of them dropping so quickly, I definitely would not be pulling as large a groups. Basically just go with what you feel comfortable handling. Alright, so at this point, now that we enter in the large open area, we actually need to head kind of to the southeast, and we'll actually see our first raven over there in the cage. I'm just gonna say hello to our friends right here. Alright. Now at each raven there is going to be a group of
A
scarecrow.
raven calls loudly, as if it's trying to get your attention. Several scarecrows guard the area. The creature drops a small key, giving access to the raven's cage.
Once they are defeated, we'll be able to free our raven
The grateful raven flies off.
and
Far off in the distance,
continue on.
one of the wards protecting Baba Lasaga's hut fades.
Alright, so we have another group there. I also want to point out, as you see, there's the barrier that they were talking about. So we've dropped one already. We do just need the western wall raven in order to completely drop the barrier. However, we can kill the dretch that are outside there already. Again, I like that range damage, so that's how I take them out. I can usually, as you see, kill most, if not all of them, before they actually reach my location. Alright, so I've gone just a little too far. Trying to grab that group. So now that those guys are taken care of, we're going to want to head kind of hug this south wall
You've found what must be Baba Lasaga's hut.
and
The
make our
magic
way around.
mists that
As we're
swirl
doing
around
so,
the
we're going to
building
come
prevent
across our
you from
fourth
entering.
journal piece, which will be the last one before we actually enter the hut. So much like in the front, we also have a bunch of dredge behind the hut as well. And just continue along kind of that southern wall, heading farther west. And you'll be able to go right up until this camp here. Which we can go until we do that. Kill them off. It'll drop. Unlock the cage. We'll be able to talk to him. At this point, we've now completely what they said.
The ensorcelled mists lift, allowing you to enter the area.
So yeah, we'll actually be able to enter in the hut now. But there are still, as you can see, a few groups of scarecrows. Alright. So this last group has a couple of Reapers with it. But luckily, with the distance here, we are able to shoot them from afar, killing them before they actually get to us. Alright, so now that we've covered around the southern section, if we kind of loop back and hug the northern wall, we're actually going to come across the other optional that they were mentioning, where it was find the person's, I believe it was like the altar, or the monument. And that's actually going to be... Did I walk past? I did. Alright, so if you were actually following the path and kind of hugging the wall, it should have led you up. No. It should lead you up a kind of a path that does have a fair amount of skeletons, or scarecrows. Maybe it is further this way. Alright. So yeah, it will be along this northern section here. And it will just be a kind of a ramp off leading north. Yeah, okay, so it wasn't this one here, it was this one right here, where we had killed that initial group of guys. And we'll actually have a plaque here.
A stone statue is perched on the hillside, surrounded by grim figures.
And yeah, we get an optional for killing them. Again, super small amount of XP. But again, it is another group of enemies to kill, which will ultimately help you get towards your conquest.
An uneasy peace settles over the area. Although the statue's features are gray and weather-worn, you can see it bears a striking resemblance to Irina Kolyana. Carved into the monument's base is the epitaph, Marina, taken by the mists.
Alright. So there we are. Now at this point, we want to head into the hut. So obviously if you need before, go ahead and use that shrine. If not, just head on into the hut. Now you do want to make sure that you have Death Ward going in here, as the boss does like to use negative energy spells. So the boss will walk towards the center. This is where the fight will take place. But what you want to do is you want to actually release the raven, which will unlock the chest, and as you approach it, it's going to knock you down here. So once that's done, go ahead and loot. We can turn in our last journal page, and here is our final boss. So the way this one works is, again, as she takes damage, she will spawn in all these animated brooms to fight you. Now, I personally like to do it again bit by bit, with the simple fact that, again, as she gets weakened, she will summon in more. And you don't want to have too many at once attacking you, as there is potential, especially if you're doing it on Reaper, that each one of them will also spawn in Reapers.
Revenge on you and those accursed birds.
Alright.
Just you wait! Shouts Valagar as she fades from view.
So at that point here,
Quiet once more.
go ahead and finish her off. It does seem that I had ended up spawning in all the brooms at once, so it wasn't too bad. But again, I don't recommend spawning them all in unless you feel comfortable handling that. All that's left now at this point is to grab our end loot, which again can have some named items, and then to recall, turn in the quest from the quest giver just outside, and then recall again back to Von Richten's tower, and we'll be ready for our final part. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. Have a good one all.